Mizmor LaDavid, Anoi Roi Lo Exar, Vino Desher Bitzeni, Ame Menukot Yantileni, Nafshi Yeshovev Yanteni, B'Madle Tzedek L'Mad Shemo, Gam Ki Elach B'Getz L'Mavet Lo Irarak Yata Imadi, Shiftecha Min Shaftecha Chama Yenachumi, Torah Lefanai Shalchan Negat Zarat, Deshanta B'Shem Roshi, Kosi Rabaya, Ach Tov V'Chezet Yerdefuni Kol Yemei Chaya, B'Shafti Beda Anoi, La'arach Yamin. A song of David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God causes me to lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. He restores my soul and guides me in righteous paths for his name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your scepter and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. David HaMelech writes in Sefer Tehillim, who may dwell, Hashem, on your holy mountain, Holech Tamim U'Foel Tzedek, V'Dover Emet B'Libo. One who walks in completeness, does what is righteous, and speaks truth from the heart. The attribute of being tamimut, of being tamim, of being whole and complete, is one of the greatest descriptions the Torah can give a person. Noach and Yaakov are both described as being tamim. But why is completeness such a virtue? To be whole in the sense of tamimut is to be whole in one's service to God. To know that one is doing exactly what one is supposed to do. One who is tamim does not need the complication that can come with accolades or attention. They know in their own quiet and dedicated way that they are fulfilling the role that God has laid out for them. Stanley embodied the attribute of tamimut. Chaim, you even told me that Stanley didn't want anyone to speak at his funeral. He really had to be talked into having people say a few words about him. Stanley Avram Shalom ben Eliyahu Halevi was born in 1923 to Albert and May Knapp. He was the middle child of 3 siblings. He was close with his younger brother Jay and very close with his older sister Frances. Devotion to family was a hallmark of Stanley's life. He loved his nieces and nephews, his great nieces and nephews, and his great-great nieces and nephews. I think I might have missed, there might be great-great-great also. There's a generation after that I know brought him a tremendous amount of joy. I was fortunate on many occasions to see the smile that came to his face whenever the children of his extended family surrounded him. Stanley did not just limit his warmth and love to his family. I remember his warm smile the first time I visited him several years ago when he was in the hospital for a brief visit. Even there in his hospital bed, he was upbeat. Stanley, alongside his sister Frances, was deeply devoted to building our community. They were generous supporters and worked hard on behalf of our Shul Ohab Tzedek Sir Sinai, spearheading the construction of our new building, and also of the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland. Stanley was committed to ensuring the vitality of our community's shuls and schools. He gave with love from the heart. The last few months were difficult ones for Stanley. It was hard for someone who had spent all his life caring and thinking about others to be in need of care and support himself. But he was looked after and cared for by his loving sister Frances and by his entire extended family. May Stanley's dedication to his family and his commitment to our community be an inspiration for us all, and may his memory be a blessing. Rabbi Heiken will now say a few words.
No, that's okay. Let me
Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon says, the living, when it comes to such an occasion, we should take our lesson in our life, for our life. And the Gemara says we should respect and give honor to older people because they have gone through a lot. They had experience in life and they had hard times and they made it. All these things are very clear and very outstanding by this Nifter Avraham Sholem ben Rebbe Yoel Halevi, as we call him, Stanley. From early childhood, he took care of himself. He didn't have on whom to rely. He didn't even have his parents by the bar mitzvah, by his own bar mitzvah. Mother was not well, and she was out of town, and the father had to go and stay with his mother. Nevertheless, he wasn't bitter. Nevertheless, he took care of himself, took care of his family, and he took care of other children in school, wherever he was. They always asked him, individuals asked him, take care of my child, because they knew if Avram Sholem will take care of it, it will be fine. And everybody respected him. His word, whatever he said, that's what people did. He went through a war, a lot of things he went through. But, as the Rav mentioned before, you always saw his smile. And his family here, the Bennetts, have given him a special simcha. They have made that their children, grandchildren, he should be able to express, because he felt that this were his own grandchildren. It's a tremendous chus. And what the Bennetts did for him is unbelievable. It's beyond human powers. We have a Chaim, for example, that would able to carry him, take him in and take him out. You need 3 aids what the Bennetts did for him. We also have to thank Chaim's wife that she allowed him to be so devoted. But this is something that we walk away, we learn from a person who was able always to help others, who, if it was with money, if it was with being a consultant, and he enjoyed life. Regardless, it was a lot of years, nevertheless, he enjoyed life, and he told people what would be after he passes away, which means he took care of things. So we learn from here, we walk away to feel strong. A Yid is always here in this world to serve Hashem. A Yid is here in the world to help others. A Yid is here to be a family person. All these things, when we see a living example, it means so much to us. As in this world, he always helped other people, the same as the Neshama, when it comes into the world to come, will continue. Good health for his sister, good health for the family, good health for the friends. He will continue to do that, because good things, you never stop doing them. May Hashem help that we should see Mashiach soon. We will all have a redemption. There will be no more death, only simchas.
Rabbi Dessler will share a few words.
The Medrash tells us in Parshas Bereshis, Omrim l'nahar Pras, we say to the river Pras, which the Pras riverbanks had trees that were very fruitful. And we say to that river, Lama ein kolcha holech, why is it that your voice does not carry? Why are you so quiet? And the river responds, says the Medrash, Eini tzarich, I don't need to make noise. Adam notea binatia, man plants a plant on my riverbank. Vihi omeres l'shlosha yamim, trees sprout in a few days. Vegetables sprout in no time at all. Ma'asai modi'im osi. My deeds speak for myself, and therefore I don't have to make any noise. On the other hand, Omrim l'chidekel, we say to the chidekel, with its barren trees at its riverbank, why is it that you make so much noise? Madua kolcha holech. And the chidekel responds, oh halavai, how I wish that people would know of my existence. So too, man, in his humble ways, a humble person, does not need anyone to talk about him, because his deeds speak for him. And I think it's very appropriate for Stanley Knapp, Zichrono Livracha. Here's an individual who was incredibly humble, incredibly happy, and it was never about himself. I only got to know him in his recent years, but my picture of him is a picture of humility, one whose deeds speak for himself. There's another medrash that says, Pri Tzaddik, the fruits of the righteous individual is to be taken with him to the eternal world. And there was an individual who went to the eternal world, and he felt badly that he didn't have biological children. And the Almighty said to him, why do you feel badly? It doesn't say children, it says Pri Tzaddik. It says the fruits of a righteous person. If you have Ma'asim Tovim, if you have good deeds to show for yourself, those are the best fruits of your righteousness that you could bring to the eternal world. As we know, Stanley didn't have biological children, but there's no question in the world that between the Ma'asim Tovim, his great deeds, his wonderful deeds, his smile, his friendship, his accomplishments, his generosity of heart, there's no question in the world that he takes that with him to the eternal world. And his Shem Tov, his crown of a good name, remains with him in the eternal world and for all of us to learn from in this world. Really, I stand before you, but it was my brother, Rabbi Eli Dessler, who's in Israel today, who had the very, very mutually loving relationship with Stanley. And I'd like to read you a few lines of what he wrote for this occasion. Dear Stanley, who would have thought that I would not be here in person? When I came to say goodbye to you before I left to Israel, I asked you to hold on, and you said, I will be here when you get back. But Hashem had other plans. Stanley, I am very fortunate and grateful to have been blessed to have been part of the latter part of your life. Your tremendous devotion to Jewish education is so inspiring. Your emunah pshuta, your simple faith in the one above, that you expressed to me so many times, became a real part of your life, and you would not hear otherwise. The stories that you have shared with me about your parents, no wonder that you and Fran have such convictions of faith in the one above. The fact that at your mother's funeral, the rabbis of Tel Yeshiva were all there, is another testament of the lineage that you and Fran come from. Stanley, I was blessed to be part of your rejuvenation in the mitzvah of tefillin. Your immense joy and smile on your face and on Fran's face radiated the entire room. You were so proud of your tefillin and the personalized bag. You told me so many times that this is exactly what you wanted. The real credit goes to Chaim, who made sure that you had the mitzvah every day, and when Chaim would not be in town, he would make sure that someone helped you with your tefillin. As you came to the Oakwood campus so many times during the construction, it was such an inspiration for me to hear your professional opinion of how beautiful and how well done it was. You were determined to see this project to the finish line, and how proud you were that our dream became a reality. Your generosity will go down in the history of the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland. When I thanked you, you always responded, "You're thanking me. I should be thanking you for this opportunity that changed my life." You visited our classroom so many times, sang with the children as they danced with you and around you, and your smile was beaming across the room. Your interest in enabling every Jewish child to have a Jewish and secular education was a priority. Stanley, as I say goodbye to you, may the Ribbon Shalom grant your wonderful family, your amazing and devoted sister Fran, the strength to continue. To Arlene Bennett, who knows no bounds in the mitzvah of kibbud aim, in honoring her mother. good health, and fulfill this mitzvah for many more years. To the extended Bennett and Lipton families, these chusim should be with them for their families until 120. I want to close with this, as I'm considered to a large degree to be part of your inner circle of friends. I personally have been amazed at how Chaim took care of Stanley and is taking care of his grandmother. Chaim, you were always there day and night with such calmness and soft-spokenness, with such professionalism and with such poise. I never heard you raise your voice, and yes, there were times that you could have lost it, but you held yourself together with dignity. The Rebbeinu Shalom should repay you and your family double. You are a true hero. Rabbi Eli Dessler.
I'd like to start by thanking our friends. I'd like to start by thanking our friends at Rent a Daughter, Vinny Hospice, and Mrs. Evie Davis for all the help and guidance. Your service has been excellent and is much appreciated. In the time we have here at the Levaya, it's a difficult task to put into words anything that can adequately describe a life well lived that spanned almost an entire century. We'll look to the Torah for guidance, and in doing so, we'll hopefully gain a strong understanding for who Uncle Stanley was and take some lessons. Avraham Shalom ben Eliyahu HaLevi, Uncle Stanley. As Jews, we know of the most famous Avraham, Abraham, our forefather. We identify Abraham, our forefather, through two distinct character traits: the midah of chesed, the way in which Abraham was kind with others, and just as importantly, the manner in which Abraham introduced the world to the idea of monotheism, that there's one God and all those that were worshipping others, they were mere deities. Avraham ha'ivri, Avraham the opposite, Avraham the contrarian. It was Avraham Avinu, Abraham on one side, teaching and preaching about Hashem, and the rest of the world on the other. As Jews, we believe these traits are passed down spiritually and are part of our makeup. And as we shall see, Uncle Stanley seemed to be successful in grasping these traits, developing them and utilizing them throughout his life. Uncle Stanley may have been born in the Roaring 20s, but the Depression era always seemed to be more prominent in his mind. He often talked about the Depression, but in a grateful manner. Like he said, "We may not have had much, but my parents made sure we always had food on the table." Stanley contributed to make that happen by working jobs whenever he could bring a penny or a nickel home for his parents. As he said, "We are so lucky to have beds. We always had beds to sleep on except when the family or rabbis visited. Then we slept on the floor, because when you have guests, the guests should always have beds." This was kindness. World War II years, Stanley was drafted and spent the bulk of his time overseas. He spoke of being in London during an air raid when he took shelter with an English soldier. They played Jewish geography, and Uncle got invited to this fellow soldier's house for Rosh Hashanah. Just like Abraham, reaching out and connecting in the name of spirituality. Uncle Stanley used to say that he went to the war with his neighborhood of friends, but came back with far too few. He stared death in the face and he wanted to live. Upon returning from Europe, he went to numerous schools, mostly at night, and worked hard during the day. He tried his hand at many different things, trying to be successful. He started or was part of many businesses, but seemed to have trouble finding his niche at first. During this time, there was a job that stuck out that he was proud to have. He worked in Ohio City with the state's tax department and was able to get through all of his assigned cases each day early. By doing so, he was able to spend time with his ailing mother, Masha, tending to her needs while she grappled with cancer. At the same time, his successful friends, who were at that time were going on to become some of the big names in the Cleveland business scene, were trying to hire him away with these big offers. So, like Abraham, like Avram Avinu, Uncle Stanley took the contrarian approach. He passed on the opportunities, and he stayed rooted in a simple job because it meant he could honor and care for his mom. Uncle Stanley had quite a way with everyone. He may have been soft-spoken, but he was so well-liked by young and old, and he delighted in others. In our time together, I even saw how, like, dogs gravitated to him. There was a ruach ne'ima, a sweetness about him that compelled others to be drawn to him. It's no wonder that with his smarts and temperament, he became an analyst for a group of buddies who wanted to invest in public companies. Uncle Stanley would go and meet with brokerage houses and companies on behalf of his friends, and then make his all-star recommendations based on research. The people that listened to him profited nicely, and he began to work independently and became financially successful. Despite his financial success, we know Uncle to be a very simple man. He used to remind me of things like, you know, your sister Rachel, she makes great food. But food is really just fuel. One time we went on a business trip and we're told we could take any car in the rental lot. So I pulled up in a Mercedes, and after driving around a bit, I asked if he'd be interested in getting a nice car back home. He replied, you know, all a car really does is get you all a car really does is get you from one place to the next. I'm sorry this is taking a while. Uncle Stanley may have lived humbly, but he was elated to help others get a step up in life. Throughout his life, he helped scores of family and friends with advice and guidance. He used his knowledge of the legal system to help procure a get for somebody who had been married to a recalcitrant husband. He helped others financially in so many ways. He had made a promise to his mom to take care of his family. And take care of his family, he did. Like Abraham, our forefather, our Avram Shalom, moved around a lot. He lived in Cleveland, Hungary, California, Nevada, Toronto, Amsterdam, made multiple stops, and sometimes they were lengthy multiple stops in Israel, where he marveled at what the Yiddish cup could do with the help of Hashem. About 17 years ago, Stanley was diagnosed with lymphoma, and he traveled to Cleveland for treatment. Over these years, his family of nieces and nephews all over have known Cleveland to be his base and have had the privilege of coming and connecting with him. The family has merited to have beautiful occasions and experiences and moments with someone who is a true mensch and has just been so special. On behalf of our family, I can't even begin to thank you for all the good you've done for us, Uncle. The whole family, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, acting on behalf of Uncle, there are many people to thank, and everybody here is precious. Everybody's important. On behalf of Uncle Stanley, I want to thank Bubby Sensor, also known as Great Grandma, for hosting and caring and looking after her kid brother all these years. Only God knows the extent of your hard work tending to Uncle, and it is God who repays kindness with kindness. On behalf of Uncle, I want to thank my mom, Mrs. Arlene Bennett, who Uncle used to always say really carries the spirit of Bobby Masha, for all the good she's done for him and for Grandma Fran and the family. Uncle would also want to single out Rachel Lipton Pnina, who he lovingly referred to as the cook, for preparing and organizing food and helping so much throughout the years. A special thank you to Rabbi Ali Dessler and the Hebrew Academy family. Rabbi Ali, this has been a very special relationship. Thank you for always giving Uncle such a spark and an unbridled enthusiasm to do good. On behalf of the family, I want to ask for forgiveness from Uncle Stanley for anything that was said or done that should not have been said or not have been done, or anything that was not said or not done that should have been said or done. And on behalf of Uncle, I want to ask for forgiveness from family and friends for anything that was said or done that may have not been proper. In closing, this is the last paragraph. I'm reminded of one of our last trips walking in the mall. Uncle's sight was nearly gone. The hearing wasn't so great. And his legs just weren't cooperating. Uncle Stanley told me, you know, I don't have so much going on down here. I'm not able to move so well. But wait till I get upstairs. When I get there, he said like this, I'm going to be moving and shaking and really working for the family. Uncle, please remember this story and please act as a good advocate for our family, the school, the Cleveland Jewish community, and the Jewish world over, and the entire world. And we should go to see Mashiach soon.
Nissen will now recite the Kalmala.
chen bameroyemim hamitzei menucha lechayna ale kanefei hashechina b'mahalos kedoshim utayerim kezayar harakia mazirim Esenishmas Avram Shalom ben Eliyahu Alevi Sheholach le'olam Mavur Shanachnu mispalelim V'yad hazikora sinishmasai Mi'anei Eden Teh menuchasai Lochin mal rachamim Yasireu v'seisar kenafav V'yoelamim V'yitzeroir b'tzeroir achayim Es nishmasai Adonai u'nachalasai V'yanuach v'shalom v'shalom Al mishkavai V'noimar Amen.
We'll now proceed with the interment. We'll begin by putting it on the vault, and then we'll have an opportunity to take part in this important mitzvah, which our tradition calls a chesed shel emet. It is, of course, an act of kindness that one can never repay for the person whom you are taking care of. So we can now walk over to the grave.
Just a little bit.
There's a nice catch right there. Right behind you. Keep coming back and to the right. Yep.
Her safety is a little bit more than grass. We're good. She's good. Nobody's gonna hit her. We're good. I've got this machine coming. If you don't mind. In a minute. One more second. There you go. Right there.
As a reminder, we don't hand the shovel off from person to person. We put it back into the pile when we're done, because this is something we have to do, but not something that we're rushing.
book is nice. Yeah. Harmony with some kind of Shabbos. Right, yeah, there's no way to get there.
Amazing when the Jews all over, like, you know, we think we know the Jewish community.
This is 1933.
Lansing is not far from the area where there's camps and a lot of other people live.
This is a cemetery.
Lansing Cemetery. Bishop Berkowitz is Sunday somewhere. Sure. Groomer. You could literally say they're all groupified. Do so much for the school. We had a lot of Lansing, whatever, Fancy Fancy, so Esther Greenwald, she was a secretary for a lot of school. So let's say to her, she fed hundreds of kids, you know? You can't ignore a democratic approach. At the same time, you can't do it quite all they want.
Like an outline of the body.
Ezra will now recite Kaddish. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen.